Ah, college, the supposed golden ticket to success, the place where dreams are made, ramen is devoured, and debt is, well, legendary. Somewhere along the way, tuition morphed from a reasonable price to an astronomical number that costs more than some houses in the Midwest. This year, a year at Harvard will set you back $82,000 before financial aid. That's a bargain compared to NYU or USC, where you're paying north of $90,000 for the privilege. Even public schools like the University of Michigan are charging out-of-state students nearly $70,000 a year. So, how did we get here? Let's dive in. Once upon a time, like the 1970s, state governments treated public colleges like an investment in their people. Public universities were seen as a public good, not a luxury. In those days, states covered 70 to 80% of operating costs. Tuition was a rounding error. Fast forward to today, and things have changed. Oregon went from 90% public funding to 10%. California, once home to tuition-free universities, now charges thousands per semester. University of Michigan now gets less than 15% of its funding from the state. And yet, it's still called a public school. So, why did this happen? Budget cuts. With every recession, early 90s, post 9/11, the Great Recession, COVID, states slashed higher ed funding and never really restored it. Instead, they shifted the cost onto students. It was politically easier to cut college than, say, police budgets or highway repairs. And like every bad habit, once you start, you don't stop. Public colleges didn't just lose funding. They started acting like private businesses. As state money dried up, universities turned to out-of-state students and international students who pay way more to fill the gap. That's why getting into your own state's flagship university is harder now. They're not just educating locals anymore. They're running a business. And students, we became the customers. At the same time that public funding was declining, administrative costs were rising. Universities have introduced a lot more roles like vice presidents of fundraising, deans of student experience, directors of strategic initiatives, vice chancellors of sustainability, directors of community engagement, associate provosts for global outreach, head of alumni relations, and the list goes on and on and on. It's as if every university is now operating a mid-sized corporate office, with a mission to hire as many administrators as possible. Administrative staff now outnumber professors on many campuses. And these aren't minimum wage jobs. Think six-figure salaries, retirement plans, full health care, and the occasional campus leadership retreat to a resort. Between 1975 and 2005, administrator hires grew 85%, while faculty grew only 50%. At some schools, there's now one administrator for every 3 students. Meanwhile, adjunct professors, the people actually teaching, scrape by on $3,000 a course with no benefits. This administrative expansion isn't solely about inefficiency, it's also a response to reduced public funding. As state support dwindled, universities turned to private donors to fill the gap, leading to the growth of fundraising and development offices. Bottom line, you're not just paying for education, you're funding a mini corporate empire with every tuition check. But administrative bloat and higher costs aren't the only reason tuition has gone up. Some of the cost increase is more deliberate. A strategic investment in image. Somewhere along the line, universities figured out that if they charge more, some people assume they're better universities. So, they crank up the price, not just to cover costs, but to signal prestige. This is especially the case with universities like NYU or Northeastern, where tuition has skyrocketed, increasingly attracting wealthy international students. Studies show that when colleges raise prices, applications often go up. It's called prestige pricing, the same psychology that makes people pick a $90 bottle of wine over a $30 one, even if they can't tell the difference. Schools lean into this hard, pouring millions into amenities, branding, and climbing the U.S. news rankings, because rankings reward spending, not teaching quality. And then there's the amenities and sports facilities arms race, because nothing says world-class institution like a $120 million football stadium or a lazy river shaped like your mascot. LSU spent $85 million on a rec center with a lazy river. University of Missouri built a swimming pool with a giant tiger statue. And yes, some campuses have rock walls taller than their libraries. But here's arguably the biggest reason tuition kept climbing. Think about it. If colleges kept raising prices but people couldn't pay, this whole thing would have crashed back in the 70s, right when it started. What really kept the cycle going, what enabled colleges to raise prices year after year, was the federal government's decision to back student student loans. Suddenly, students didn't need cash up front. They could borrow, and borrow big, which meant colleges could charge big. Back in 1965, the federal government made a game-changing decision. It started guaranteeing student loans. Through a program called the Federal Family Education Loan, FFEL program, the government promised lenders that if a student couldn't pay back their loan, the government would cover the loss. That guarantee made banks feel safe handing out loans to more students. The program ran until 2010, when the government switched to lending directly through the direct loan program. But the idea stayed the same. No matter what, colleges knew the money would be there. With this government guarantee, student debt soared. In 1970, total student loan debt was just $2 billion. Today, there's a whopping $1.75 trillion and counting in student loans outstanding. At any given time, about 1 in 10 borrowers are in default on their student loans. So, yeah, all of those reasons are why college is expensive. The craziest part? Most Americans grow up thinking this is just normal, that college is supposed to cost more than a house and leave you in debt until you're 40. But here's the good news. It doesn't have to be this way. Other countries fund their universities, cap tuition, or even make it free. There are solutions, from rethinking student loans to investing in public colleges again. If you want to dive into what fixing this mess could actually look like, hit subscribe. We're breaking that down in the next video. And hey, if this video made you wonder why you even went to college, don't worry. That existential crisis is included free with your $80,000 a year degree. Anyway, it would mean a lot to me if you could share this video, subscribe, and tell me in the comments. What do you think college will cost in 2035? Will America figure out how to put a lid on expenses? Or do we just have more of the same in store?